Hey guys, content warning up front. This whole Erika Kirk thing is much darker than I realized. So off rip, it involves heavy allegations. I have read some of the most vile things that I've ever read in my entire life. The allegations against the Harvest Christian Fellowship that are connected to the pastor that Erika Kirk is doing a tour with are even far more disgusting than I thought. And after reading through the complaint, I felt sick to my stomach. I still feel sick to my stomach. Inside the complaint, it describes an inspection and audit that allegedly took place in 2004 after the allegations had become so serious because the Harvest Church leadership authorized a team to look into it. Now, I'm not going to go into every graphic detail in these documents. I will leave the links so you can do that for yourself. But please heed my warning when I say it's the kind of material that you cannot unsee. I have a little bit of regret, but I am also glad that I've read it because it's insidious. So instead, we're going to read through this article together because it does a really good job of laying out the basics. Quick backstory. Turning Point USA, the Make Heaven Crowded tour that they're having, as I told you, the headliner is Laurie, who's accused of the cover-up. According to the lawsuits described in the article, the Romanian survivors have filed federal complaints alleging systemic trafficking violations and decades-long cover-up connected to Harvest homes. Now, this is how non-serious Harvest has taken the accusation because they said, and I quote, "The allegations are serious and disturbing, but the target here should be the alleged perpetrator, not our church. This misplaced lawsuit wrongly targets Harvest and our pastor as a form of financial extortion. It does not seek the truth, nor does it seek to stop the purported wrongdoer." Now, I believe that the dark is going to come to light, and we're going to find out who the ones are that could have stopped the wrongdoer, but chose not to. Apparently, by October 2004, an investigation team had inspected and claimed that they presented what they called conclusive evidence and urged leadership to remove Havsgaard immediately. But according to that investigation, leadership said he brought so much funding in from donors that he needed to be the face of the church. The details, and I mean the gory, ugly details of the laundry list of absolutely heinous things that he did to these children, allegedly, are so well documented and attested to by the victims. I do not know how this could be ignored or denied. Unless, we remember that it's built into the system by the elites deliberately. I'm telling you, the churches are built on graveyards and not for the reasons that you think. Anyway, so before we get into the article, I also want to give a quick backstory on Paul Havsgaard, the one who was accused of behaving like this. The filings state that two of his sisters accused him of repeatedly, we're going to say, disrespecting them when he was a teenager and when they were children and teenagers. The eldest of the two sisters met with a church leader, Harvest leader, and warned them about his behavior, and they never heard back. And on top of that, he also disrespected his foster daughter. That is the kind of man who was working for Harvest Church and who was across the sea in Romania running a home for children who had nowhere to go, vulnerable children. All right. So with that context in mind, let's get into the article and walk through what the lawsuits are claiming. Romanian survivors file lawsuits against California Megachurch and Pastor Laurie alleging decades of sexual abuse and cover-up. So Harvest Church Fellowship of Riverside, California, with Pastor Laurie as the leader, have been accused of systematic negligence, ex-trafficking violations, and a 20-year cover-up of rampant ex-abuse in Romania. In total, 23 former residents of the homes will be bringing complaints. Paul Havsgaard, a longtime Harvest pastor and associate of Laurie, was sent by Laurie to Romania in 1998 to run Harvest-sponsored homes for vulnerable children. Now, he would attract kids to the home with a meal like McDonald's, promise of a safe place to sleep, maybe clothing, gifts, and then once he lured them in, he would carry out abuse and physical abuse on what they're calling an industrial scale. Oh, it's so sickening. According to the complaints, they profited from the money they raised through charitable appeals and the false impression that they were doing good works. The complaints allege that Havsgaard may be one of the most prolific child sexual predators alive in the United States today, responsible for thousands of individual acts of abuse. As of a couple years ago, I'll put the image up if I can find it. I saw an image of him at a church advertising to do some kind of, I don't know, reading a book or talking to children. That is absolutely psychotic. He should be locked up. Never, ever allowed around children. The complaints relate that Havsgaard disrespected his own sisters when he was a teenager and assaulted his foster daughter while a Harvest pastor. Despite repeated warnings and evidence of abuse, Laurie and his former missions pastor, Richard Shute, kept Havsgaard in place in Romania with minimal oversight. And when I say minimal, if you read through that list, you would see there was absolutely no oversight, and they were sending him thousands upon thousands. Oh, here we go. Lots of money. Didn't track where it was going. You know how much that would be worth in Romania at the time, back at this time? Harvest deposited some $17,000 each month into Havsgaard's personal account and did not require detailed accounts, as he siphoned off funds to pay for gifts for his ex-favorites, because he would favorite some of the children. He would pit children against each other, as some weird perverted narcissist psycho would do, of course. Perverted deviant. Havsgaard returned to California frequently to raise money, and he'd bring those kids back with him. And in this country, he would also assault these children. He needs to be locked up. The complaints allege that finally, in 2004, other American ministers were sufficiently concerned by what they were hearing about Havsgaard that they intervened with Harvest and caused Shute, Laurie's lieutenant in charge of foreign missions, to send an inspection team. So that's the inspection that I told you I read through. I will put the link again. Just please take caution. It'll make you gag. I had to look away so many times. Okay. So they send an inspection team, and it's in Bucharest, and allegedly Bucharest at that time was known for heavy trafficking of young. They told him that Havsgaard was a P, and that Havsgaard needs to be on that plane with you when you leave tomorrow. He doesn't need to be another day in Romania. He is an embarrassment to every single missionary and Christian worker. Now, if you ask me, maybe he's your typical Christian, because it seems like to Erika Kirk, this kind of behavior is acceptable. You'd stand by somebody who covered it up, allegedly. But Laurie, Shute, and Harvest did nothing to protect the children. Havsgaard was too important to Harvest fundraising to remove. Now, Harvest cut down its subsidy of the homes, but it still left Havsgaard in place to continue disrespecting and recruiting. So he continued to recruit more victims for another 4 years. So for 4 more years, they could have stopped countless victims, countless assault against these children. And who even knows what else happened to children that we just will never know about. Harvest gave the cruel and violent P some $200,000 in severance payments once they finally let him go. So his reward was thousands upon thousands of dollars every month, using children to fulfill his perverted desires, getting paid for it, and also pimping them out to people. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm trying so hard to be very careful and cautious of the words I say, because this could, trigger people, but as well, I know it will probably do something to the algorithm if I'm not careful. So kids with nowhere to go, now on the street again, brought in to be violently fondled and used to the exploits of this man Havsgaard, this alleged pastor, and then when he comes back to the States, he gets this reward and they get left out on the streets. I am blown away. I'm absolutely blown away they could be so cruel. The amount of money they must have made from claiming that this brilliant guy, this of the Lord over in Romania preaching, helping these kids, the amount of money that must have brought into harvest. I can't pretend to know. But those children who are, now suing, they've probably lived a very rough life, had difficulty in relationships, finding jobs, help. And here, Laurie, living it up, whooping it up, Havsgaard, whooping it up, still preaching to kids, moving along. Despite knowing what he had done in Romania, Laurie publicly praised him as a pastor who faithfully served the Lord for many years at Harvest Christian Fellowship. And that he was like Moses with the Israelites because his life demonstrates the power that just one godly person can have. You have to be absolutely me. That's an absolute joke to know all. And even if they thought like, I don't know, maybe these allegations aren't real. With that in mind, still putting him up on a pedestal is just absolute bananas, bonkers, cuckoo. Who does that? People like this do that because they use their faith, other people's faith, religion. Basically, they pimp kids out to make money. That's exactly what they did here. When the truth comes out, I should say, allegedly. How can you deny that? That's what they did. Moses with the Israelites. Yikes. Okay. Life at Harvest Homes was like a torture chamber inside a prison, says one of the plaintiffs, Marion Barbu. Havsgaard would show up regularly in the bathroom while boys were showering or undressed and stare at them, sometimes touching themselves in their presence. He regularly spanked the kids in public and would also... We're not going to read that. Okay, I don't look at the screen if you don't want to see what it says. Some of this is disgusting. But yeah, he did absolutely atrocious things to little boys and girls, both, and would use the money that he was getting straight from Harvest Church, straight from Laurie, straight from Shoot, to then buy gifts to buy children's silence. He pimped out older boys for sex work. Everything he has done is a stain on Christianity. And if you are okay with platforming this man, with it, even a possibility that he could have done something and didn't, you're just not sure, even if it was gray for you, the possibility that you still put him on a platform when you yourself, Erika, have children is despicable. I can't get over it. Like, again, God, don't look at the screen just in case there's some things you don't want to see, my friends. The complaint further alleged that the abuse included touching in very specific, detailed, unhealthy, harmful ways, and also trafficking these victims to other parties. He told, this is so addicted. Oof. He told the children, I know what God wants. What I want, God wants. While he was abusing them. So insidious. The Holmes House Street children as young as 4 years old who were groomed, disrespected, and silenced. Now, there were other ways that they would punish these children. So he would either do it through touch Or they'd use punishment like this. Children were punished by having to kneel on walnut shells or being tied to their beds or radiators. I mean, this is like Mother Teresa on like steroids type ish. Kneeling on sharp walnut shells or being tied to your bed or to a radiator. Oh my God, no wonder they called it a prison. Torture. So some of the kids obviously had such PTSD, were so traumatized that they would harm themselves or they would try to take their own life. They left with PTSD, depression, addiction, and some illiterate. They should have been learning. They should have at least had a semi-normal life, regardless if you're living in a home as an orphan or someone who's been handed over to the state, what have you. You should be getting an education. You should be fed. You should have clothes on your back. You shouldn't have to suffer like this. They left away with all this harm done and illiterate on top of it. So not many options when it comes to jobs, right? Church leaders did not institute regular inspections, staff training, or child protection policies, and overlooked or ignored reports about Havsgaard's pattern of child abuse from staff, donors, church members, and his own sister. He was welcomed back to the churches in Riversdale with wide open arms. Well, we're so glad that you helped all those kids over there in Romania. What a great man. All that work for the Lord. My goodness. Like Moses. During the years of the successful cover-up, that's a good way to label it, successful cover-up, Harvest and Laurie reached great heights of prominence. And they did. They had crusades, whatever the hell, a top 100 U.S. podcast, membership in the Southern Baptist Convention, a Hollywood movie about Laurie's early days at Harvest called Jesus Revolution that grossed $53 million in its first year. Who the F is this guy? I listened to his talk at the convention, at the Make Heaven Crowded tour, and it was just a lot of jokes. Is that his shtick? Is to get people catch people off guard with the humor, disarm them, engage them? We see right through this dude. Okay, what else? The church owns over 100 acres in Riverside and earns an estimated minimum of $52 million per year, and his house has an estimated value exceeding $5 million. So buku bucks. I mean, rolling in the dough. And these poor children who were the fodder for them to make this money. Truly. Allegedly, we'll say. Laurie did nothing to protect them is basically what they're saying, even after they received powerful evidence of abuse. I mean, they heard testimony, you could say, straight from one of the victims' mouth. His sister spoke to a leader at Harvest, and they ignored it. That right there should have been enough to remove him. A sister's testimony. My apologies. So I told you that I saw some kind of flyer. So it's a senior adult Bible study. But either way, I have no doubt that this man is still around children, and he absolutely should. He should not be around anybody because he is a menace to society. There are so many details and instances that I'm leaving out. Let me just read maybe one or two. So one of the victims one night, in order to basically prove and allow people to hear what was happening, called Havsgaard with this person and some of the boys, and this person is, one of the adults at the home, and had Havsgaard on the speakerphone without telling him. And this is what follows. I asked Havsgaard what he would do if I came to his apartment. He said we would play. I asked him if he would give me a J. He said he wouldn't force it and would only do it if I liked it. I said, no, I didn't like it. I asked him if he liked it. And Paul said he'd like to do that to me. Paul had made a full confession to the room, including the staff assembled there, without realizing. Then Paul said he would have one of his favorites the next night anyway. So the boy said, no, I don't want to. And Paul was like, I'll have one of my favorites tomorrow anyway. Why did none of the adults do anything? Why did they not demand their government, demand harvest? That was a whole lot to digest. And after that, I just keep thinking of the phrase, make heaven crowded. Make heaven crowded. I mean, first off, too soon. Hello. Yeah. And then number two, occupy much, because y'all are really good at that. What kind of people are going to be in heaven? Because if Havsgaard and Laurie are considered to be heaven bound, it doesn't say much about the people who are going to be allowed up there, does it? I wouldn't want to be there. I mean, I'm not a believer, but I'm just saying. TPUSA doesn't have to wear a white hood to function as a vehicle for Christian nationalism. That is probably what makes it so effective, because she has been packaging it as revival. Come back to Jesus. State and religion intertwined, having babies together. Patriotism. Values. Meanwhile, all she's doing is normalizing this authoritarianism, this tyranny, a tyrannical social order where some people are allowed to be here, depending on their place in this world, while others are getting ripped out of churches and separated from their family and lost in the system somewhere.
He asked her the question, do you think these protests are helping? Personally, I do not. I think it's demonic.
Where's the accountability? Where are the Save the Children crowd? I mean, don't y'all care about the kids or not? Instead, you're treating accountability like it's a plague, like it's a punishment, like criticism is the worst thing to ever happen. While you say, oh, we should forgive from the pulpit. And then on the other hand, you're also cheering for violence when citizens are executed on the street. The faith and the works and the morals and the actions are not aligning. I guess that's what a cult of personality does. She brands her faith, she makes money off of it, and if it pays, she slays. That's all I can say about that. If you are new here and you want more breakdowns like this, please subscribe, leave me a comment, and I will leave the links below. So if you all do want to read for yourself, I'm just saying, please be very cautious. Nasty stuff in there. Take care of your head. Take care of your heart, especially after what happened in Minnesota yesterday morning with Alex Preddy. May he rest in peace. And my heart goes out to his family, and of course of Renee Good and everything. But I think that's about it, y'all. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you next time. Oh, you know what? Actually, too, if you don't mind, if you are new here, could you let me know how you found me in the comments? That would help. That would help a great deal. Bye-bye.